You're listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Full Court Press. I'm your host, Drew Duncan. You're checking me out live from the K-Sun Studios in Wichita, Kansas. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Drew Duncan 83. Additionally, you can find me at ksunradio.org. That's ksunradio.org. Hell in a fog. Hell in a fog for the Atlanta Falcons last night. 23-0 for the better part of that football game. 23-7 is honestly an unfair score. But before I get into that, I've got to say, I was really bored and frustrated and burnt out on the repetitive discussion of the Super Bowl that had taken place all the way back in February. You know what NBC and the NFL have been like all year long? They've been like that bad ex who continuously brings up every mistake that you've ever made. You were doing so great. You were giving me all the attention in the world. You bought me flowers. You took me on dates. And then out of nowhere, you just blew it, man. Baby, you were doing so good. You were cool. You were chill. You used to let me go and hang out with my friends. Now you want me at home all the time. You want to control me. That's exactly what it sounded like last night. Listening to these guys endlessly talk about everything the Atlanta Falcons did wrong in the second half and everything that the New England Patriots did right in the second half. They dropped every possible stat. And, like, at the beginning of the game for a little bit, I could have gone with it. Like, all right, do a couple of minutes on it. Obviously it's the Super Bowl rematch. There's, a little bit to discuss there. But, we're in a different place right now in the NFL. Completely different place. Tom Brady's in a different level. I think Ryan is at a different level. The Atlanta Falcons are in a completely different place, obviously, from what we saw last night. The Patriots' defense seems to have their number. And I don't feel like it was really a relevant discussion for a full 4 quarters. Like, why did you feel the need to discuss this the entire ball game? And then, of course, what would they say at the end of everything? And we know what happened after that. They would lay down a stat. Tom Brady's QBR was, and then we know what happened after that. Then they would lay down a different stat. Matt Ryan's QBR in the first half was, and then we know what happened after that. Like, we do know what happened after that. I mean, geez, it was literally like arguing with an ex, dude. It really was. They come back into your life. They're giving you another chance. They're saying to hell with it, but they can't help. But every little thing you do, they're like, but remember. So, like, they can't mess up at all because when they do mess up, well, but remember. Do you remember what you did? So anytime Atlanta got to Tom Brady, all we got to hear about was, but do you remember? Do you remember, though, that they were dominating and it didn't matter last year? It really didn't matter that they were dominating. Okay, they got to Tom Brady, that's fine. But remember when they did that last year? It really was nauseating. It was seriously nauseating. You mean to tell me that there were no stats out there that were available that you could have dropped that were relevant to this game? That's just why I don't dig into stat lines too much. Because of nonsense like that right there. It's almost as if nobody did research for the game that was going to happen on Sunday night. It's like everybody just went, well, this is the rematch, and we can't wait to talk about Tom Brady and that comeback. That's on everybody's mind, right? Everybody's still thinking about that? No, not every. Who cares? Like, I did not care anymore about the Super Bowl. And we do this every single season now, it seems like. We spend the first 7 or 8 weeks in the NFL talking about the Super Bowl from a year ago. Didn't everybody have, like, I don't know, 9 months in between the Super Bowl and regular season to kind of get that out of the way, to get it off your chest, everything that you felt? I know I did, and I know that I don't care about it anymore. It's not that it wasn't a great comeback. It's not that I didn't decide after I saw that Tom Brady's the best quarterback in the NFL ever, period. It's not that. It's just that you have drove me to the point where something that was almost unspeakable happened, to the point where I don't think anybody still to this day can accurately articulate exactly what happened in that game, because it was so jaw-dropping that number one, we'll probably never see that again. And number two, it was beyond words. You watched that game and you just went, wow, unbelievable. There's no way. Unless I saw that with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed that it happened. It was that moment. And everybody has ruined it by drowning it and watering it down. You have literally taken one of the greatest moments ever in the history of the NFL and made it so that way people don't even care about it anymore. Congratulations, everybody. Way to go, NFL. Way to go, every network. That includes ESPN, NBC, CBS Sports, Inside the NFL. Way to go, everybody. You have literally talked about it to the point where I think most people are just nauseous in hearing about it. And I would say that's probably even New England Patriot fan. I would say there's some Patriot fans out there that are like, yeah, we did that, but, we're 5-2 right now. We're trying to move on. We want Brady to stay healthy. We've had some injuries happen. Let's get moving with the new offense. Let's make sure that the defense plays up to snuff the way that they did last night. They were bending a lot, but they didn't break. The New England Patriots, obviously going into this football game last night, the one topic of discussion was, your defense is terrible, right? But, of course, everybody must have missed that Tampa Bay game. I think they just didn't really have anything else that they really wanted to discuss other than the Super Bowl from last year. Oh, wait, just in case you missed my opinion on it. Oh, yeah, no, defense, terrible, bad. They're horrible. I saw some guy say it one time. The Super Bowl last year, that game, sir, we need to discuss because we all watched it. No, we didn't all watch it. I'm not going to front. I was drunk at halftime. I was hanging out with my family, and I saw the score, and I barely paid attention to what happened. The fourth quarter came around. I thought, well, I better go ahead and start watching. Sports journalist, kind of my job. Started eating some food, and by the time the game was over, I just could not believe what I was looking at. There was no way. I started looking down at my notes. I'm like, yep, I did write that. Oh, no, I did write that. Oh, okay, I wrote that. What the hell is going on here? It really happened. I wish everybody would stop pretending like they didn't decide that game wasn't over in halftime. Harrison, one of New England's own, admitted that he had left the game at halftime. It was like, dude, we're done. He admitted to it. Okay? So everybody stop pretending that you know everything that happened in that second half, because most of us were so gone and so over it that we didn't start paying attention until it really got close. Keeping it real. Okay? It's time to move on now. The Falcons won 3 games to start the season, and one of them against the Lions is very questionable, and now they've dropped 3 in a row. I don't know if it was the game against the Lions that shook everybody up and went, maybe this team isn't that good. Because I don't know how many people around the NFL were even remotely under the impression that the Detroit Lions were a good football team. Matt Stafford's worth $135 million. I don't know anybody that believed that. I think it was that game that made people wake up and go, well, this may not be everything that it's cracked up to be. The Atlanta Falcons did not look good yesterday, but it wasn't because they couldn't move the football, because they did. long before the fog ever hit. And even in the fog, they were able to move the football, guys. The problem was nothing in the red zone. And really, honestly, at the beginning of that first quarter, or towards the end of the first quarter, beginning of the ball game, I should say, when that field goal got blocked, I think that was when everybody kind of knew, well, New England is going to dominate this game at some point. Even though the score was 0-0 at that point, and Atlanta had already gotten to Tom Brady a couple times in that first quarter, I think seeing that blocked field goal, it was kind of like, well, maybe this isn't going to be a very good football game. Shortly after that, in the second quarter, we see the Patriots take it downfield. It's going to go down as a touchdown pass, but whatever. It's kind of a flaky TD pass, but it was creative play calling anyways, that little inside play that they ran. Basically like a glorified shovel play. And that was the thing. To me, that was the difference in that football game, was the creative play calling from the New England Patriots versus the same old thing for the Atlanta Falcons. This is something that I've talked about with a lot of football teams this year, guys. The Denver Broncos, the Atlanta Falcons, which the Falcons even went for it on a 4th and 7. Matter of fact, it was the drive that they ended up getting the field goal blocked on. But just because you're going for it on 4th down doesn't mean that you haven't created play calling either. It was basic drop back pass. Nobody was open. Of course, nobody's going to spy Matt Ryan. He took off, ran for a first down. Did that a few times in that game. But the point is where I was going with this. Those teams, Denver, Detroit, Atlanta, I'm just not seeing enough from them. And you've got fairly experienced quarterbacks, obviously with the exception of Trevor Siemian in Denver, that you should be able to trust them by now to use some creative play calling, to do some different things, some motion plays. You know, I understand that there was a lot of pressure on Atlanta going into this football game, and whether or not those players or coaches want to admit to it, the real reality of it is it was there in the back of their head, especially when the entire lead-up is, hey, do you guys remember what happened 9 months ago? Yeah, we do. All right, great. We just want to make sure that you remember everything that happened back in September, because I'm sure you don't remember. But just in case, I want to cover that topic of discussion with you. So I'm sure somewhere it was lingering, but I felt like defensively, Atlanta's game plan was honestly better than New England's game plan throughout the entire ball game. Atlanta's problem was execution, drop throws, bad throws by Matt Ryan. They did get some pressure. They started shooting gaps. They were able to close off edges eventually. Even in the fog, I thought, all right, you could start running the football, and it looked like they could have. A couple of big hit run plays, and for whatever reason, Atlanta just couldn't really stick with the game plan. It was almost like they were just not really clear about what they wanted to do. Everything was indecisive, and New England's not a football team that you can miss field goals and turn the ball over and not score in the red zone and convert 4th downs, and because they had that 4th and goal. Couldn't get that. Point blank. Atlanta beat themselves, honestly. I know everybody's going to talk about New England and drop box score stats and all this stuff. Atlanta beat themselves last night. All New England had to do was sit back and beat New England and play damn near perfect football and allow the other guys to torch themselves. See, that is one of the keys that I think a lot of people miss with the Patriots. It's not that what they do is so great that they're unbeatable, because clearly they are. Look at the Chiefs game, very beatable football team. Look at the Carolina game, very beatable football team. The point is that New England just doesn't make a lot of mistakes that cost them the football game. You got a guy like Tom Brady, doesn't turn the football over much, whether it's fumbles or interceptions. Okay, when you've got a defense that loves to force turnovers, you got special teams that does everything that they need to do. You don't miss a lot of field goals. Those are big things. Turnovers lead to better field position. And even when they do, it seems like the defense is able to step up and make a play. Look, going forward, Atlanta has a lot to figure out right now because the Saints are officially on a roll. They came back. They beat Green Bay. They dominate that second half, as a matter of fact. The NFC, I think, is a far tougher division this year than it has been in a long time. I think the premier teams are in the NFC right now. I would say Tampa Bay right now could probably match up with Atlanta very easily. So, number one, when you start with the divisional race, you know that any team that's in there right now looks like they could beat Atlanta badly. Then you start looking at the rest of the NFC, who's really a team that you look at it and you go, well, Atlanta would never win that game in the playoffs, should they get there. Look, as far as the New England Patriots go, I think right now New England, Kansas City, and Pittsburgh are the three best teams in the AFC. And I think it is a very clear-cut difference. I know that the Kansas City Chiefs have lost 2 games in a row, but they have lost to a football team both times that were playing absolutely desperate must-win football. Now, you may say, bro, that's what the playoffs are. Granted. But the playoffs are also a time when you're able to seek revenge. Now, I know Kansas City last year, 2 wins to Pittsburgh, obviously 1 in the reg, 1 in the post. Bottom line here is they still have the ability to run the football. We saw New England has the ability to run the football last night. And we also saw now Le'Veon Bell starting to look pretty good. He looks like he's getting back to form. So Pittsburgh with the ability to run the football. That's what separates the good teams from the great teams. Teams that can pound you, grind you out, and still hit those medium to long run plays. It's not about just getting 4 yards of carry. It's about every now and again 12, 13, 14, 15 yards of carry. Give me that 9 yards of carry. Every now and again, you've got to be able to peel off, and then, of course, you get that one long run. So I think right now the Patriots have began to once again separate themselves. And again, statistically, Tom Brady is playing better at age 40 than he was at 35. We're not seeing the same thing for Matt Ryan at all. This is an offense that is confused. I think that they have a better defense this year, to be honest with you, than they did last year. For the most part, especially in that first quarter, they played Tom Brady pretty damn good. But a lot of that, too, was, and I hate to say this because I'm not exactly a big Belichick fan, they were out coaching that football game. Atlanta, Denver, there's a couple of other teams that better figure it out really damn quick. I'm telling you that right now. This is the Full Court Press. I am Drew Duncan. I am on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at Drew Duncan 83. Don't forget you can listen to me from 8 to 10 Monday through Friday at ksunradio.org. That's ksunradio.org. We're going to take a quick sponsor break. When we come back, there is a lot more to get to. Oklahoma City takes a tough one to the Minnesota Timberwolves. We're going to be discussing the Denver Broncos. We're going to be talking about the Monday night matchup tonight. Folks, there is a lot of college football untouched yet. Barkley, Penn State, they want Bama. So there's a lot more to get to. We'll be back right after this. Don't you dare touch that dial.